All right. Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again today, Dan Thornton. And I was, if you saw the whatever it was, 30 seconds, 1 minute before when we had the sound off today, apologize. Just decided to restart the stream. But today is the 1 year anniversary of Lions Talk Live. And it was a year ago at this time where a group of us were at the Seahawks game at Ford Field, the game where the Lions didn't force a punt, and we said, hey, we're going to go ahead and start a YouTube channel, something that I had talked about for some time. But as I'm sure most of you know, being a reporter for 30-some years, wasn't sure if I really wanted to. Thanks on that, Pierce. Didn't really know if I had the time to commit to it, but you know what? I started messing around with it, playing around with it. I had some people that in the community that I reached out to and were willing to help me out. So it's been impressive being around for that longer time, and I never would have really thought that would have grown to this. But I want to thank everybody obviously watching and who has helped over that time. There's been a whole lot of people, so won't want to bother you guys without all that. But I did want to say thanks for that. So it's something that I didn't see coming. We'll put it that way. All right, so let's get out of that and talk about a little bit Lions news. And let's start off with, if you're going to rank the Lions or the NFC, where would you put the Lions? And you guys are going to have to chime in and help me out with that. Happy birthday to you, Don. Yeah, happy birthday, man. Hopefully you're going to have a good one. Lions fan, thank you very much for that. Pierce, thank you very much. Thanks everybody. But getting back to the Lions, and again, thank you for the thoughts and the recognition on the 1 year anniversary. If you're going to rank the Lions, where would you rank them as far as the teams in the NFC? Me, myself, I'm going to say San Francisco is probably number one. After that, I think that's where it gets questionable. Who are you going to put where? I guess if I would say number two right now, even though they probably didn't show up at all in any way, shape, or form for Arizona, probably couldn't put the Dallas Cowboys in that defense number two. Maybe Philadelphia number three and Detroit number four. What do you guys think? Where would you rank them? Don, you got I'll say this is number three, Pierce. You got, let's see, San Fran 1, Philly 2, Detroit 3. Okay. No real wrong answers. Sounds like most of us probably agreed that the Lions are in the, roughly top 4, top 3, top 5, somewhere in that vicinity. And then, it seems like most people are going to say that San Francisco and the 49ers are the number one team. So with that all being said, I'm not going to make this a long one today. Let's see, fifth behind Eagles, Dallas, San Fran, Seattle. Okay, that's Christopher. That's fair, especially since Seattle got us. Here's my question: as we start getting, and this is just for fun today. It's not a big thing. And for those of you who don't know, by the way, when I first did Lions Talk Live, once a week I would do it as Ric Flair. I had the big long white wig on, the sunglasses, the woos, all that stuff. It was just too hard on my voice to keep doing it because, man, in doing a 15, 30-minute show trying to be Ric Flair, let me tell you, I felt that in my voice for a few days. Morning, Bergs. How you doing, man? So I was actually thinking about doing the show today as Ric Flair for the 1 year anniversary. I couldn't find all the stuff that I would dress up as. Anywho, but getting back to this. So here's my question. As we get further into the season, and I think we can all seemingly agree that the Lions they may not be number one in the NFC, but they're somewhere in the conversation of consistent contenders. So with that being said, and looking at the potential playoff matchups, assuming we win the NFC North, what would shake down and happen? Dun, dun, dun. How would you feel if the Lions played Stafford and the Rams in a playoff game at Ford Field? Would there be mixed emotions for most fans? Would it be people salivating at the idea? Would it be, hey, this is not the matchup you probably want just because, say what you want about Stafford, this, that, and the other thing. I think most people would say, though, reflecting on his time here, the guy gave everything he could from the very first. Remember that Cleveland game where came in and basically blew out his shoulder. came in and threw the game-winning touchdown pass. Kid's got some grit, heart, all that. But I also get, after 12 years here and seeing numerous regime changes, getting older and a little bit more beat up, he was probably just ready for a fresh start. But I thought it would be an interesting thought to throw out at everybody. How would you feel? He's a Ram now, no mixed emotions, all right? Jad, thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. Bergs, flying all the way to Stafford is gone, move on. Yep. Mixed emotions with me for sure. All right, Pierce. Here's my thing. I think he was great for the team when he was here, but also I will say I think it was great to trade him. Lions obviously had a rebuild, and if you look at what they got in return for him, it's hard to say it didn't benefit the Lions. I mean, obviously they got Goff, and probably most people around the nation probably thought Goff was just kind of a throwaway player, take the contract away from us, etc. But obviously Goff has performed fairly well, better than most reasonable expectations. And then, of course, you got Laporta, you got Gibbs out of it, a number of other players that have come in and helped impact the team. So huge win for us and the Rams. Yeah, they got the game that Goff lost. They got the Super Bowl. It doesn't mean that they wouldn't have won it without, or they couldn't have won it with Goff. But, hey, obviously McVay and the Rams hierarchy felt that it was time for them to move on. Beat the brakes off Stafford, yeah. I would agree that if he comes in here, there's just not many players left here that I can think of offhand that played with him. So I don't know if the players themselves would have any kind of real drive or emotions to push up and get a huge win. But then again, they're all probably grossly aware of who he is and just want to make sure that they're on the right side of that scoreboard. All right, new Lions take no prisoners. Yeah, Detroit versus everybody. Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. All right, so moving on from Stafford, where are we in the top hierarchy of the NFC teams? It does sound like Mosley, and we already know J-Mo's going to play, but it does sound like Mosley's going to play this upcoming weekend. So here's my thought for you guys. How many reps do you want to see this guy get? I would say I wouldn't put him in the starting lineup right off the bat. I'd probably ease him in, kind of like that I'm anticipating they're going to do with J-Mo. But I would say that Mosley, should we try to get him somewhere between 15 to, say, maybe 20 reps, maybe 25? That might be pushing it for somebody who's just coming back first game from an ACL tear, his first action from a year. But I do believe it will help that secondary a lot, probably 2 to 3 weeks from now. Once he's at that point, I'm anticipating he is going to be the starter, opposite side, Cam Sutton. So, and then, obviously Jerry Jacobs had the 2 picks last week, but it does seem like when teams scheme, they scheme to go against him to find favorable matchups, Jerry Jacobs, that is, versus Cam Sutton. And if Mosley comes in and he can be close to, basically what Cam Sutton's doing out there, then I think the Lions secondary, especially with Kirby Joseph returning, that's looking pretty legit. I won't say it's elite, but I'd say it's not a favorable matchup for most teams and not one they're going to desire. No Sue talk. I have heard some stuff about it, but I just don't foresee them signing him. But who knows? He is a former Lion. He is a former great. He's on the wrong side of 30. I would say if you're getting him for limited snaps, that's what it'd come down to. Maybe try to control him to, Sue at this point, 10 to 18 snaps a game. And maybe he can be very impactful during those 10 to 18 snaps. I just think more on that. And, unfortunately, he is human. Those legs are going to show some real signs of wear and tear, and his energy level is going to deplete, I would think, fairly rapidly over the course of the season if you try to force feed him too much. But yeah, it would be just depth. All right, Chris, we're getting back to you. 80-20 split with Jacobs. Yeah, I'd say that sounds about right. Give him a couple of plays here and there, get him worked in, get him ready to go, and start easing him back. All right, let's see. Brett, yep, that sounds about right. 15-20. Yep, Sutton is playing well. Sutton, probably doesn't get talked about enough. I get from a defensive standpoint and offensive coordinator standpoint, you're not looking to who needing to pick on both corners. You're trying to find the one that you feel gives you the best matchup, and we're going to pick on him all day long. Jerry Jacobs, obviously against Seattle. Seattle identified him as the weaker corner, and they went at him left and right. I mean, they schemed up heavily to go after him. I was a little surprised that Kansas City didn't as much, but it is what it is. After that, I mean, I would say Green Bay went after him pretty hard, and other teams as well. He's held up better and better the longer the season is gone. But Jerry Jacobs, I think, would be a more ideal third corner than DB2 or 1, and that's no discredit for him. I mean, he's doing what I think a pretty good job. It's just he's not that level, at least yet in his career, to take on really primary receivers a whole lot. Don, do you think C.J. Garner will make his way back sooner than expected? Houston, I think, is on target from the last update I got on him. I think he'll be back no later than the middle of November. So, really with the bye factored in, whatever that is going to be, another 4 or 5 games. We'll see what that shakes out. But they didn't have to really do as much work on that ankle as they had feared originally. So he seems to be progressing pretty nicely. CJ, I'm just going to stick to early December, mid-December. So it does mean he gets back. He plays some games before the playoffs. I guess the positive way I would look at it is he's going to be pretty fresh, even though he's coming off the surgery and the repair job. But think about it. He'll still have the luxury, if he hits that target, to get a few games under his belt, get basically back to full speed right before the playoffs. So that's a good question, Don. And I think, man, he comes out there. Tracy Walker regains some chemistry, some confidence. Kirby Joseph, Branch, Mosley, Sutton, Jerry Jacobs. That's a pretty good group to build your secondary around, and some depth, some quality depth at all the spots. So the Lions at that point, I think, Don, could be trending really in the right direction heading into the playoffs. Sutton has been quite a great free agent signing. Yeah, playing great. Does anybody remember the last time a team went at him? And that's really something. And some of that maybe they just prefer going after Jacobs. But I don't really think of too many plays off the top of my mind that teams have gone out of their way to target him and put a matchup on him that they thought was favorable to them. Yeah, it's a pretty good secondary group if you look at everybody, assuming they all stay healthy. You get CJ back. Mosley is the player that we're assuming he's going to be once he gets a few weeks to recover from that ACL. And then, of course, you add in Houston during that mix to the front line. Joshua Pascal's back. I mean, that defense, I'm not going to say they're Dallas. I'm not going to say they're top 5, anything like that. But I think they're pretty good. And especially if we can get 1 or 2 other players to really pick up that pass rush. I mean, I get the last 2 weeks, we've done some things to help out. If that pass rush continues to trend up, then as well as we're playing against the run, I think we're going to be a tough matchup for most NFL teams to move the ball on consistently. All right. Thanks for agreeing on that. I know Laporta is our number 1 guy, but I thought James Mitchell, that would Don, that's a great call out there. Mitchell last year, I thought, okay, he's coming back from the knee injury. You could see some flashes here and there, but where has he been this year? I can't think of more than a couple times he's even been on the field. And maybe I'm just not thinking of it. But again, as you guys know, I haven't had my morning Mountain Dew yet, so maybe I'm just not firing on all cylinders. But yeah, he's one player that I've been surprised we haven't seen more of this season. And the reasons, I guess, that's probably worth a phone call or a twit or two to a couple people, trying to find out what is going on with it. But I'll see what I can find out for you guys. Yep, I'm enjoying every minute of the season. I haven't felt this positive since the early 90s. Bergs, I'm going to say this. I remember the year the Rodney Pete, Kramer, and all that stuff. Everybody knows the season. When that season was unfolding and we were making that huge push, I can remember thinking, having been a Lions fan since the late 70s and watching a lot of those struggles, it's like, man, this is almost unfun because you're so conditioned to watching on the edge of your seat every week just to see if we can get a win. That particular season and a couple other seasons besides that one, we were just so successful. Everything, coming up just in Lions' favor. I remember one game at Minnesota where we were down something like 17 points with 6 minutes to go, and Rodney Peete scored 21 points, the Lions, in that 6 minute span to pull off an upset win on the road. That just opened up my mouth and said, man, maybe this is too easy. It's just not as fun as rooting for every week for them to overcome whatever obstacle. And I've regretted that ever since, because obviously we all know the last 20 plus years ain't been so great. All right. How many weeks do you think before Mosley takes over Jacob's spot? I'm going to say 2 to 3, Brent. I think they'll ease him in just to get him some snaps this week. The following week, let's just assume he gets 15 to 20 snaps this week. Probably the following week, 18 to 25. And at that point, you're getting the starter's share, unless there's just a ton of drives, which, the him and Hall relationship between the way we run our offense and defense, I don't think too many people are going to get a ton more snaps than that as a starter. So we'll see. But my answer, I think 2 to 3 weeks. All right. So last thing I'll say to you guys is, I'm going to try to do the pregame tomorrow. I'll try to have that all set for you guys in the morning. You guys want to jump in and interact with it. I'm sure you're all already aware of the Vegas lines and where they're at with things. But it looks like the Lions are going to be a huge favorite. And I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. You got an offense that's struggling. You got a rookie quarterback who's struggling. Man, if the Lions can get home on this kid, they might have another 4-7 sack performance on that D. They can create some more turnovers. And the other thing I know everybody's going to be excited to see, you put Jameson Williams on one side of the field, Laporta off the line as the tight end, and then St. Brown on the other side. That's going to put a lot of pressure on defensive coordinators. Who do you account for? I'm going to be watching when he does get on the field. Do teams in the first week or two, do they double team him right away? Putting a safety over the top and a corner and press underneath. Do they double team St. Brown? I mean, they got to pick their poisons. And I think if Jameson Williams is healthy, really comes out aggressive, I think he should at least have a chip on his shoulder to prove himself. It'll be interesting to see what this offense really can become, because if you guys are aware, if you've been watching this show, I've been saying since the preseason, with Jameson Williams gone, the Lions really need a second receiver, maybe a third, to really step up to try to be the offense they were last year. DJ Chark was gone. You needed somebody to take some pressure off St. Brown. We've had some moments where Khalif Raymond's made a play or two. Josh Reynolds especially has made a play or two. Marvin Jones, he's probably more of a mentor's role this season, and this will probably be his final season in the NFL. He really hasn't performed well. Laporta has superseded expectations, I think, at any level. If he continues this up, I mean, his season's going to go down in like Hall of Fame whispers about how great this rookie was and is. Brian Branch on the other side of the ball, yes, I get he's having that same type of season, just incredibly good. All right, I've talked to you guys' ears off now for almost 20 minutes. I got to get ready for the rest of my day, but I want to thank you all for tuning in. Yes, it's the 1-year anniversary. Never thought it would happen. Sorry I couldn't find the Ric Flair gear for you guys, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, you scroll back to the beginning of this channel. Yeah, I did a couple different episodes dressed up as Ric Flair and in the voice, and it was fun. Actually got a lot of good comments about it, but things you're doing when you're starting a channel. All right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your days, and we'll see you all tomorrow on the next Lions Talk Live. See you guys.